Hello everyone, my name is Arjy Garg and I'm your host. Today I have with me Mr. Nikhil Pant. Sir, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Arjy.
Thank you. Just a bit of an introduction on Mr. Pant. Sir has been associated with the field of education for a very long time, around 5 years. Sir is a teacher for global perspectives, thinking skills, as well as well-being. Sir is also currently the manager at product and marketing at HarperCollins. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here today, and I'm loving this conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm actually looking forward to have a conversation. It's always wonderful to have a conversation with such young minds. It's always wonderful to talk to young kids, which we are not anymore. So, yeah.
No, sir, you look very young to me.
Thank you.
Sir, so my first question to you would be that, sir, you're teaching global perspectives and thinking skills and well-being. That is all part of a Cambridge curriculum. So, sir, how do you think a Cambridge curriculum is different from a CBSE curriculum? What's the major differences and which one do you prefer personally?
See, it's not about differences, or it's nothing to do with what I prefer. I believe a curriculum is as good as the ones who are implementing it. When I say who's implementing it, I mean to say the teachers, right? I mean, a curriculum is as good as its teachers. What the Cambridge curriculum, it gives freedom and flexibility to the teachers. That's very important. Even CBSE is doing that right now with our national education policy, right, which the government has included as the national education policy, is actually around holistic development of the students. It's slightly moving away from the traditional academics, traditional education, which was more over memorization, rote learning. Now it's more about critical thinking. It's more about developing skills, developing traits among the students rather than topics. So that's something which I believe Cambridge is prioritizing, skill development, which is extremely important, especially in the age of AI, because we never know where does your future lie, especially with AI. So developing skills is extremely important. So that's something which is the difference, is that in curriculums like Cambridge, it's skill development, and even CBSE is now coming up with such initiatives and ideas. National education policies are testimony to that skill development is at the center.
Thank you. So I happen to agree that skill development is becoming more and more of a priority, and I'm glad that you brought up AI, because my next question is around based on the fact that I heard a quote that said, like 100 or 200 years ago and today, phones, communication has changed a lot, transport mediums have changed so much, but unfortunately classrooms have remained relatively same. So how do you think that AI integration into classrooms can help the next generation of students?
See, it will become a necessity. So I'll give an example. A couple of decades ago, when there was a invention of calculator, right? A lot of people say that what's the need of a calculator? The moment the calculator would be invented, the basics of mathematics will die, right? The art is you need to memorize the tables of 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. You need to know how to subtract, because it's also mental maths. You need to exercise your brain that much. So you need to know on the tips of your tongue that what is 18 into 5 or 19 into 9, right? True, that's very important. But do you think with the innovation of calculator, mathematics died? No, it didn't. It actually, so what happens is that you need to create a space where they can live with each other, coexistence. And rather now we are actually utilizing calculator way more, right? So it's similarly with AI also, right? With AI, first of all, the teachers need to adapt, right? The teachers can't be living in this rigid mindset that no, AI can't reach out to the classrooms. It has. I mean, we're not even talking about future prospect, we're talking about current reality, that AI is there. Students are using AI, which they should, right? Rather than discounting or dismissing the idea of AI, what we need to do is we need to enhance the understanding of AI. We need to actually channelize the pros of AI, and that could only happen if we have a conversation around it, if we know how to use it in the best manner so that we enhance the students' learning. So the first point is teacher development. The teachers need to know more about AI. How can they utilize this prospect, which is AI, into the classroom? Because we have been seeing in different parts of the world where AI has impacted the classroom in a positive manner. The content generation, the research, everything. So we need to live side by side with AI, and we need to know how to use it effectively. That's the crux of it. That understand AI and utilize it, channelize it.
Definitely. So we were talking a while back about teaching teachers, basically, or teacher modules for learning. So do you think that there needs to be AI modules for teachers?
It's already there. It's already there. I mean, they're already teaching. There are already AI modules in which teacher can develop their skills. More than develop their skills, they can upskill, which is very important. Because you need to understand that each and every second, I'm not even saying days, weeks, or year, right? Each and every second, our environment is changing. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? We don't know. I mean, three years ago, I had never heard about a software which can generate automated text, which is ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, right?
So if I want to write, let's say I want to write a love letter, like if a 16, 17, 18-year-old wants to write a love letter, right? They can just they can just provide prompts to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can write it, right? 5 years ago, I had no idea that something in this can also come into picture. Now, similarly, I don't even know what will happen tomorrow, right? The way AI is enhancing, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's very important to, first of all, give the space, and second, to utilize. Like I said, it's not restricted to students. It's also for teachers, because at the end, this is new to us also.
Right.
Like we had never, I mean, there was no course which I have pursued to become a teacher which was centered around AI. We had never heard about AI. It's just now that we are coming across AI modules, AI curriculums. So we need to adapt, we need to learn. So one of the most important thing is to keep as a teacher, to keep an open mind. That whatever it's coming, we can't dismiss it. What we need to do is, we actually need to embed. We need to blend what we know, the traditional learning, and the modern learning, or the future learning, and we need to blend it, and then we need to create this beautiful dish, or like just to use an analogy, just create this beautiful dish where we will serve to our kids, which will be a bit of tradition, bit of modernity, and bit of personalized learning also. That's something which is extremely important.
So thank you. So I happen to be very enlightened by your perspective on that. My next question to you, sir, would be that you're also a manager at HarperCollins, right? So, and given your background in well-being, what books do you think, or what literature do you believe should be integrated in a classroom or in a syllabus learning course for students on well-being, so that they can handle their problems better, they can handle mental health better?
See, so this is a topic which I've written a lot on. I've written a lot on well-being. What I'll say is that, first of all, it's space which matters, right? No matter what curriculum you use, no matter what modern curriculum, modern AI techniques you use, till the time you don't create a safe space for an individual, nothing can be productive, right? So first of all, us as teachers, not just as teachers, us as the generation which are looking forward to, we need to be open to create that comfort environment, right? And especially in schools, because what happens in school is that there are 500, 600 students who are coming from different backgrounds with their own insecurities, right? With their own insecurities, and what they're trying to do is, again, we are also setting up such an environment with all the academics and the sports and everything. So they're fighting between their insecurities, and especially with in this era of social media, where we are exposed to everything. We're exposed to each and every sort of advertising, and there are number of researches which are there, which says that, this generation is actually in terms of the level of insecurities which they have, may that be body dysmorphia, may that be any kind of insecurity, they have a lot. So what we need to do as adults, first of all, we need to create that space, right? And then involve and then like blend a curriculum. And the curriculum could be anything. Like for example, I have been practicing, I've been teaching Harper College well-being, right? In that curriculum, I know that there are three strands, there are three aspects, which is very important aspects, which is social well-being, physical well-being, and mental well-being. When I say mental well-being, now this is something which has been overlooked for a very long period of time, right? It has been overlooked. Why? Because when I am a prodigy of early 2000 or late 90s in school, like at that time, not just that well-being was not promoted, like mental well-being was not promoted, it was actually looked down upon. Like I said, I'm a prodigy of boys boarding, like all boys boarding school. So it was looked down upon. That if a boy is trying to express his feelings, I mean, you're not man enough to express your feelings. If you're crying, not man enough. One is that. So mental well-being, very important. Second is social well-being. Now that is extremely, extremely important. Social well-being in terms of my relationships with other people. Like I have a friend, I have a father, I have a mother, I have a grandmother, grandfather, teacher. These are social relationships. How good I am in developing these relationships. Second, maintaining these relationships. Right? That is very important. And the third is physical well-being. For a very long period of time, what has happened that the physical, like in terms of the physical aspect of this well-being has been looked after. That like when I was also in school, so we used to have PT lessons and all of these things. But the other aspect was the nutrients, because that's also extremely important in terms of the physical well-being, right? So what I'm consuming, am I aware of what I'm consuming? Now with the emergence of Swiggy, Zomato, all of these platforms where in 5 minutes I get a packet of chips, I get something which might not be healthy. It's convenient but not healthy, right? So I need to be aware. I need to make more aware decision that if this is good for me or not. As teachers, I need to inform the kids that, you know what, this has a lot of sugar, this has a lot of protein, carbs, or whatever it is. And then you make an informed decision rather than me imposing on you that no, today you will have only fruits, no junk food. What will happen? The child will eat fruits for 2 days, and then when nobody's looking, they'll go to junk food. Rather than them being their own decision, I can't impose something on them. Rather than that, they should have their own decision that, you know what, I know that this is not healthy for me, so probably I'll have it once a week, and rest of the week I have something healthy. So these three strands need to blend together and provide, and this becomes like a holistic well-being: social, mental, and physical. So this is what it should be.
Sure, sir. So my next question to you is that you are from a humanities or an arts background. So given you said it yourself that you were a 1990s, early 2000s child, was it a difficult conversation to have at home that you wanted to move into a field like this, like, in 11th and 12th while picking the stream, or were your parents very open to the idea?
So see, the thing is that I was just discussing it with someone that I don't know how different it is today, but like if you go to a classroom and ask students that how many of you want to become a teacher, I don't think any hands will be raised, right? Compared to if you go and say that how many of you want to become engineers, doctors at our time. Nowadays you go and ask that how many of you want to become a film star or cricketer or a social media influencer. So a lot of hands will raise, but not with teachers. It used to be at that time. It's still there. I'm assuming because I have been teaching, classroom teaching. So being a teacher was never a very appealing profile. Like nobody wanted to become a teacher because it was not appealing enough. Because how? Because we used to see our teachers at our time, who would always be very strict, right? We used to be always very uptight. You can't say anything to them. They're always very strict. They always say things in a very straight face. So it was not a very appealing job profile. But now I'm expecting, me being a teacher, right? I try not to be like that. I try to be friends with someone. Like, just for example, this is the first time I'm coming, the second I'm coming to the school, and I just saw this boy, like a very small boy, and I just shook his hand and like, I love your haircut. And he said, thank you so much. And it's like a 7-8-year-old boy. I'm like, I love your haircut. He said, you know what, it's Declan's Rice haircut. Now I said, oh wow, he's my favorite footballer. Do you support Arsenal? And he just looked at me and like, he's a teacher and he's talking about football. How does he know Arsenal Football Club? I'm saying that I relate to that boy because I'm a football fan. At the same time, that's how I relate to my students. And once I relate to them, now then for them, this job profile becomes a bit appealing. Oh, you can be a teacher at the same time you can love football. Something which they think only young people can do. Teachers can't do that. So yes, it was difficult for me to have that conversation with my parents, but at the same time, I also come from a family where my aunt is a teacher. All of them are teachers, so it's a very well respected profession. But at the same time, okay, you're a boy. Why do you want to become a teacher? It's not a profession for a boy. It's not a profession for a man. That's a prejudice, right? That's something which has been coming up for a very long time. And still it is there. I mean, if you see in a school, any kind of school, if you see the gender ratio in a school would always vary. Like there would be more female teachers, because I'm expecting in the next 10 years it will change, because your generation won't carry this prejudice, right? They won't be open. They don't have those gender roles, right? Our generation still had. Right, my parents' generation had. I could see when I was in school, there were only 2-3 male teachers. One of them was a physical education teacher, right? But now things are changing. Now we see more men coming into the teaching background, teaching profile, and hopefully in the next 10 years, when your generation will get into the job market, more of the man, or I don't want to make it a gender role, but that's something which people will be open to the idea. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. I've gotten to learn a lot about you based on this conversation as well. We were earlier talking about the Cambridge curriculum, and I mentioned that you're teaching global perspective. So, can you describe more about what exactly your subject is?
Absolutely. So, see, global perspective, as the word suggests, right? It's global perspective. Perspective. Most important is perspective. And what is perspective, right? The way I'm thinking, like not just the way I'm thinking, the way I'm articulating also, right? Do you know what is the difference between information and knowledge?
And so I'd love to know about from you.
Yeah. So, information is something which I can gain. But knowledge is something what happens when I digest that information, right? Like, let's say I have the information of there's this pollution, right? I get to see in my watch that the AQI is more than 400 for the past 1 week. That's information. Knowledge would be what is the impact of this AQI on me or on other friends, right? That's knowledge. So where does knowledge come from? When I process that information, right? Just by having the information, I'm not doing any service. Just by knowing that AQI is more than 400, there's no aspect to that, right? So when I process that information, when I say, okay, AQI is more than 400, now what is the safe level of AQI? Oh, it is this. What are the different countries in which AQI is? Okay, AQI should be like 20, 30, 40. More than 50 AQI is, it's very severe. Okay, now what are the impact of having a bad AQI or high AQI? Okay, it's not good for your breathing, it impacts your lungs and everything. And then I can say, I have a perspective.
Right.
Only now I have with information, I can't have a perspective. A lot of people have it because WhatsApp forward, you read WhatsApp forward, and now you just mimic what's written over there without processing that information, right? If you don't process that information, that is what you read it somewhere and then you just mimic it. That's not perspective. Perspective is when you read an information, and not just one information. You read different kinds of information
and you digest it and then you reproduce it.
Exactly. So that's what perspective is. And in global perspective, there are 3 things which we majorly work on. 3 kinds of perspective, right? Start with personal perspective. How is just taking the example of AQI, right? How AQI is impacting me. My in terms of my ears or my health, how it's deteriorating personally. Second, that's a personal perspective. Now, second is national perspective. How it is impacting my society. Now school gets closed for 2 months or 1 month. It's impacting the student learning, right?
Right.
A lot of things impact, economy is getting impacted. What's happening? Now that's a national perspective, how it is impacting my society, my immediate society. Third is the global perspective. So you start from personal, national, and global. Only when you have a personal perspective, you have a national perspective, only then you can reach out to
A global perspective.
because what you do is that you widen your horizons, right? So that's the three. And in global perspective, we work on skills, nothing to do with topics, only skills, and 5 major skills, which is research, analysis, collaboration, communication, and evaluation. So these 5 skills we try to inculcate these 5 skills among students, so that tomorrow whatever topic you discuss, you can use these skills. Like how you give a labor, you give the tools, right? You give them the tools that okay, you have this tool, you have these tools, and now you can go and fix anything.
Yes.
Like you just give an artist a paint and a color. Now that artist can paint a wall, a canvas, can paint a human body with tattoos, can paint anything. You just give them the tools. So similarly, we're giving the kids the tools, and these tools are these 5 skills. Now you can exercise these skills in every topic. You want to talk about politics? Use these skills. Research, analyze, communicate, collaborate, and evaluate. You want to talk about entertainment, you want to talk about war, you want to talk about well-being. No matter what topics you choose, you exercise these skills. So that's majorly what global perspective is all about.
Right. So, sir, when you're talking about these different skills that are basically the curriculum, it's not any specific topic. So, at the end of a semester, how are you looking at evaluating students?
That's the most interesting part, and that's something which I believe other subjects should also follow, because it is a subjective exam, right? Or assessment, right? It's not objective. Like the best example which I gave is that my student can write 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Now in mathematics that's wrong. In maths it's wrong, right? Because it's an objective. 2 plus 2 is 4. That's objective. But in global perspective, the child can write 2 plus 2 is 5. I won't deduct or give marks on that basis of that. What I want is reasoning. Why do you think 2 plus 2 is 5? If you're able to convince me, I'll give you marks for that. So over here, you get assessed on the basis of your argument. How well can you put your argument up in front of me? So your rationality, what are the strengths of your argument? What are the weaknesses of your argument? Because then those arguments are not limited to the classroom. You go home tomorrow, okay? You see a newsroom debate. You put on a TV and you see a debate happening in any newsroom. You analyze the debate, you say, okay, you know what, this person, these are the strengths of this person, these are the weaknesses of this person. So I believe this person is speaking right, and I somewhat value this perspective because this person is using all the strengths of an argument. So we have that list that these are the strengths of an argument, these are weaknesses, what are the claims which the person is making, what are the flaws in an argument, all of these things. And on the basis of that, you get assessed. How well you have worked out, how well you have presented your argument. So there are markings on that perspective, on that. So there's no objective marking.
There's no
subjective marking, which is the beauty of that subject. It's each and every person is correct if you're able to convince. So it's an open book examination. It's okay. Use Google as much as you can. You won't be able to get an answer in the Google. I need your perspective, your personal perspective. Right. What do you think? Right? You want to know what do I think. You won't find that in Google.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what we are trying to make them critical thinkers. That think, do your research, go to Google, right? So that's a beautiful thing that, you know what, when you copy one source, what is it called? You're mimicking. When you copy various source, what is it called? Research. That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for having this conversation with me. I hope everyone who's watching this video has learned a lot from Nitish sir. And thank you so much for joining us, sir, today. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for tuning in.